So welcome to my walkthrough for the Edexcel Higher paper. It didn't originally say the date, but there it is. It's November 2021 and it's paper one, so put those calcs away. Because otherwise these two are a bit too easy. So part A, do the multiplication however the heck you want, grid, Italian, lattice, Russian, Egyptian, no one cares as long as you get the digits in the right order. So 2 times 367, I get 734. Then it's 4 times the lot, but it's a 0, so it's 40. We've got 28, 24, and 14, giving us 15414 for nearly the answer. Because don't forget, however you've done it, the question has 3 digits that follow decimal points. The answer needs 3 digits. How do you divide by a decimal? The answer is you don't. It has the same result as if you times both answers by 10. And a lot of people don't like long division. Then don't do it. Do it as short division, good old bus stop. It just means you're going to have to do a bit of work for your 16 times table. 598.4. Line the decimal points up. 16 add 16. 48, 64, 80. Let's go up to 6 and see what happens. 16 into 59 is 3 with a remainder of 11. Gotta go again. Add 16, it's 112. That'll do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll be 7 of them with a remainder of 6. And that means it finishes off here because 4 16s are 64. Job done. And just because you multiplied the numbers in the question by 10, you don't adjust the answer. The answer stays the same. If you don't believe me, try it on a calc. Number 2, good old Venn diagrams, but take your time, don't rush them. Even numbers less than 19. So, the debate about whether 0 counts or not is entirely up to you. But I'll start at 2. So 2 goes in B. 4 isn't mentioned. Outside. 6 is in both lists. 8 is in neither. 10, neither. 12 is in list A only. 14 is in list B only. 16 is in none of them. And 18 is in both of them. Just double check you've got the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And because it's up to 19, not 20, I'd expect 9 numbers in my Venn diagram, not 10. Number 3, I'm not a fan of shortcuts where some people do 4 take away 2 and so on, because it does mean you go into negatives. I prefer to practice and just make them improper straight away. So 4 5s are 20, add the top, 2 3s are 8. Sorry, 2 3s are 6, plus the 2 makes 8. Let's make them into 15ths. So left-hand side, we need to treble. Right-hand side, we need to times by 5. Gives us 23 15ths. Don't forget, mixed number. How many times does 15 go into 23? Once, with a remainder of 8, and the denominator doesn't change. On we go. So we've got T and R. One of those questions where you just go, let's look at each person individually. So Tamara's house, 220 grand, decreases by 20. So we work out 10%. You could divide by 5 and go for that. I'll do the old 10%, 1%, and so on. Don't need 1% though. 10% is take a naught off, 22 grand. 20% is double it, 44 grand. So her house has gone from £220,000, reduced, gone down 44,000. It's really 220. Take away 44. So 216, 216, take away 42, sorry, 176. R, same again. What's 10%? 16 grand. You could have gone straight to 30%. Doesn't matter how you get there, but we need to add that on to the 160. Whoops. And we get 208 grand for Raheem's house. At the end, whose house had the greatest value? Raheem. Job done. Number 5, our old friends, wordy ratio questions. As soon as I see it left to right, I don't like the look of that. I always go and line them up. R, M, I is 4 to 7 to 15. I has 24 more stickers than M. Well, no, they don't. They currently have 8 more. That means we need to treble everything. As that will make the difference trebled. The difference, as you can now see, is 24. I has more stickers than R. 12 to 45, subtract 33 more to be precise. Number 6, volume and cross-section. So don't forget, volume divided by length is 30, and that gives you the cross-section. In other words, the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle is a half times the base times the height. And so to work out height, work in reverse. Start with 30, double it for 60, divide it by 5 to get 12. Number 7. Doesn't look friendly, but one of those where I just recommend to anyone, if you don't like the look of them, just get started. If that X actually had a value, what would you do? Well, you'd square it to find the area of one face and times it by 6 because there are 6 faces. Doesn't change just because there isn't a number there. Alright, so the surface area of the cube is just 6x squared. Nothing more complex. Let's look at the sphere. The sphere is 4 times pi. We do have a number here. It's 3 squared. So 4 lots of 3 squared, 4 nines. We've got 36 pi. And there's the key word to it all, equal. We get 6x squared and 36 pi being equal. Now it's a show, so I always like to do a bit more working out. So let's divide by 6 to make it obvious before we square root. That's the square root of 6 and the square root of pi. If you want to be watertight, be obvious with the value of k. You don't need to be. Number 8, it's solving a quadratic, but unfortunately they haven't put it equal to 0 for you. So you've got to take away 5x and take away 24 from both sides. It's non-calc paper, so 99% of the time it doesn't need the formula. It's easy. Factorising. Now minus 8 and positive 3. Multiply to make minus 24 and add together to make negative 5. So for our solutions, change the signs. Positive 8, negative 3. 9a, anything to the power of 0 is 1. Part B, add the powers. So there's a power of 1 there, and the 6 and the negative 6, when you add them, they cancel out. It's just 3 to the power of 1. Number C, number 9C, number C, dafty. So negative power means 1 over 2 to the power of 4, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. There we go. And power of a third, don't forget, means cube root. And 3 times 3 times 3 makes 27. Number 10. So there are 6 identical squares. Let's bus stop it to find the area of 1. Find the length of one side of each square. So we need to square root 901. We haven't got a calculator, but hopefully you'll see that square root of 9 is 3. So square root of 900 and 1, it's the nearest whole number, is 30. Is your answer an under or an overestimate? Or because we took the 901 down to 900, it's an underestimate because the 901 was rounded down. So our answer is, the correct, or something like the correct answer should be 30 point something on the end, 30.05 or 1-ish, or who cares? 11. So as soon as you see the word area, get times in. So let's do A first. 6 times 2w plus y. That's 12w 6y. Similar on B, but let's just do a bit more working out because it's not as straightforward. 21wy plus 42w. And we are told that these two areas are equal. Let's put them equal. 21wy plus 42w equals 12w plus 6y. Find an expression for y in terms. So the final answer needs to look like that. In other words, make y the subject. So let's take 12w from both sides. Let's subtract 21wy from both sides, because now we can factorize out a y. So we get 6 minus 21w, and there we go. So y is equal to the 30w all over 6 minus. And don't forget, if you'd have done that line differently and took the w's to the right and the others to the left, you'd have all the signs different. It would be minus 30w all over positive 21w minus 6. They are both correct. Number 12, because these are so boringly easy, gotta be blunt on that. I've just copied and pasted it from my worked answers. Just make sure you are plotting your cumulative frequency at your upper class boundaries. It's cumulative, which means up to and including. It's not the same as a frequency or a line graph. That's where you use the midpoints. You must use the first coordinate, must be at 5 along, 4 up, otherwise your median won't be good enough. Use the graph to estimate the height of the plants. Well, there's 40, so go for 20, technically 20.5, but who cares? And I'm coming out at 13.5-ish. Bit of leeway either way. Number 13, evaluate Ted's method. Well, Ted, your pants, it's rubbish, because the idea is evaluate Ted's. Well, Ted's wrong for the main thing, and it's on that line. Something along the lines of he needed to work out 100x to cancel out the recurring bits as it stands when he subtracts them. The recurring parts, the parts after the decimal points, they're not the same. So he's going to end up with 0.1 recurring or 0.9 and so on and so forth. So Ted needs some revision there, pal. Number 14, you choose how to do the split. Doesn't matter if you do it vertically, but I've gone for horizontal. So this top, all right, if you want to call it, they've already used A, so let's use B and C. So we can say that B is 4 lots of x plus 1. Now on C, we know its width, we don't know its height, but it is x plus 11 take away 4. In other words, x plus 7. Now C needs a bit more work because it's a quadratic. That's really the crux of this question, because that bit's quite easy. So the x terms gives me 2x squared. The constants give me 42. 6x, 14x, 20x in the middle. So the total, in other words, A, is these two things added together. So it's 2x squared plus 24x plus 46 as required. That's a hell of a 6. Number 15, algebraic fractions. You can go for any but lowest common multiple of 2x and 5 is 10x. So you can already see that unless it cancels down, C is 10. So on the left-hand side, we've had to times by 5. So we multiply the numerator by 5. On the right-hand side, we have multiplied by 2x. So there we go. And now we just add the tops. 26x plus 15. We're done. There is no common factor of all those three numbers, so it doesn't cancel. Number 16. Tempting to go for probability trees, but when you're picking 3 counters, I'd only go to 3 branches and so on as a last resort. So to work out the probability of getting exactly 1 red, it's red, yellow, yellow. Then we could put the red in the middle, but the numerators across the top and the denominators across the bottom would be the same. And similar to if we had the R at the end, the numerators and the denominators would both be the same. In other words, there are 3 ways of getting 1 red counter. So just do 3 multiplied by all these fractions. So getting a red counter is 3/8. Yellow is 5/7. Yellow is 4 out of 6. And you could do lots of stuff here, but loads of things cancel out. Let's just colour coordinate, just to make sure we're not over simplifying too quick. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 3, divide by 3. Can we see anything else? Not really, so let's just do 3 times 1 times 5 is 15. On the bottom, there'd be a 1 there. 2 times 7 times 2 is 28. That'll do. Number 17, sorry. I have, as you can tell, already cheated, and I've already... So as you can see for number 17, cheated a little bit, but that's really to speed the process up. I want to do more explaining than I want to do being rubbish with technology. So this question, always start with the easy one. And when you're plotting them, ignore the inequalities, just go with equals. So first job, plot the line of x equals 3. That's a vertical line through 3. And we're wanting where x, that's horizontal, is less than. So that's why I put that little arrow on there. Let's go into green and let's look at this one. So how do you plot that inequality? Well, just plot the straight line. Make a quick table of values up. Don't go into great detail. Pick a couple of random numbers. 0 and 1 are always the best. 6 minus 3 zeros, 6 minus 3 ones. Get them plotted. And as you'll see, you've got your straight line. You only need to decide if you want the left or the right. Now, some people see it straight away. Now, if you're not sure how to pick I'll call it left and right. Obviously, I've put an arrow on saying it's the left. Why? Well, because if you pick a test coordinate, 0, 0 is the best. Sub it in. So replace in your formula up here, replace y with 0, replace x with 0. 0 is less than 6. That's a correct statement. So 0, 0 is in the region which I want. Bosh, that's definitely correct. Same sort of logic for this one over here. How do you plot it? Table of values. X and Y. Easier to make up your Y values here. Sub them in. 4 plus 2 noughts. 4 plus 2 ones. You get these coordinates here. So you get that straight line. Do I want to be above that line or below it? Pick a test coordinate. Why not pick 0, 0 yet again? Sub it in. 2 zeros plus 4 is 4. X is 0. So you've got 4 is less than 0. That's not a correct statement. So we don't want that to be in the region. So not above the line. We want to be below the line. And so where's the region that is left and below that and to the left of that? There we go. We've got our R. They're very time consuming those, so definitely practice them. They're very regular. They do come up more often than not. Well worth practicing. Revises 2 things for the price of 1. Revises your straight line graphs. Obviously, if they're in the form of y equals mx plus c, you don't have to do a table of values, and that can speed it up as well. Number 18. So we've got a trapezium. We've got a ratio. What have we got? We've got hidden bit of SOHCAHTOA. Because in a trapezium, we like to have its height. It's a non-calc paper, so they've given us 30 degrees because, yeah, its sine 30 is a half. So it's got to use SOHCAHTOA. So to find the opposite side, which is the height, not to be confused with h for hypotenuse, it's h is going to be the hypotenuse. What am I doing? It's the hypotenuse times sine 30, which is a half. So we're getting 3 for the height. Then it tells us that the length of AB to the length of CD is 2 to 3. Now, in other words, whatever AB is, to go to CD, we need to multiply it by 1.5. To go from the number 2 to 3, you need to add on half. So we can say that D to C is 1.5x, and that's the absolute key to this question for me, because now you can use the formula for the area of a trapezium. So the area of a trapezium is equal to a half the parallel sides added. That's 1 plus 1.5. That's 2.5x multiplied by the distance between them, in other words, the height. So let's just simplify things because we haven't got a calculator. So 3 times a half is 3 halves, and 2.5 is better written as 5 over 2. Now we can crack on. Times both sides by 4. Divide both sides by 15. In fact, could have made life easier, really. Just spotted it. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. That's a bit easier. So now when I times both sides by 4, I get 88. When I divide by 5, I get my answer for x. If you want to be in decimal form, feel free. Just bus stop it. 88.01, remainder 3, 7 remainder 3. We get 17.6. There we go. So on number 19, you'll probably spot a subtle clue that they start in root 12s and there is a root 3 in the answer. So if you choose to simplify it right at the start or sometime at the end, it's entirely up to you. I'm just going to crack on. 8 plus root 12 all over 5 plus root 3, and we multiply by the denominator with the sign changed. So on the bottom, do the easy bit first. 5 5s are 25. What am I doing? Change the sign out, change the sign. On the bottom, 25 minus 3. So at some point when we start tidying it up, there we go. So top times top is 8 times 5 minus 8 times root 3. Going to need to go a bit longer. Then we've got 5 times root 12. Another way of saying 5 root 12 is it could replace it and you could have that as 10 root 3, your choice. But on the end we've got minus root 12 root 3 is root 36, so minus 6. So on the top, 40 take away 6 is 34. Minus 8 root 3 plus 10 root 3, depends on where you do it, you might need another line. All right, it's entirely up to you. It's not a show question. You need to find A and B, so it's not a show, you can't fluke it. So I'll just jump to positive 2 root 3 because it's negative 8 plus 10 root 3. And we can tidy it up in the question. There's no coefficient of root 3. They're all even, so everything can be divided by 2. On we go. So number 20, one of my usual, let's cheat a bit so I can save you all some time. So the key is they've drawn the circle for you. You've just got to draw that. Well, let's rearrange it. It's y equals 2x plus 1. So there's your intercept. Along 1 up 2. That's your gradient. Along 1 up 2. So you've got one solution that's nearly at that coordinate of 2, 5. And you've got one down there that's nearly at the coordinate minus 3, minus 5. So depending on the thickness of your pen, I can tell you what I got. I got negative 2.9, I'm saying that's nearly mine. Negative 2.9, negative 4.8, and I'm saying that's 2.1-ish and 5.1-ish. But the mark scheme allows the first coordinate 2 to 2.2 for the x and 5 to 5.2 for the y, and for the negative coordinate it allows minus 2.8 to 3 for the x, and it allows minus 4.6 to minus 4.8. For the y, on we go. So you've got functions. So first one's compound functions, but don't overcomplicate. This means substitute the 1 into the f of x first. So you get 3 lots of 1 squared plus 1. BIDMAS, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, and that needs to go into g. Subbing 4 into g means you get 4 over 4 squared, in other words 4 over 16, in other words a quarter. Now b is a bit of a doozy. Alright, you've got to find the inverse function of f of g. So you've got to do the f of g first. So the f of g of x means stick g into f. So where you've got on f, it's 3 lots of x squared. Where you have the x, you need to stick in the function for g, 4 over x squared. Now if you tidy it up on the top, 3 lots of 16 is 48 over x to the 4, and the 1's doing nothing. And let's call that y, because the key to finding an inverse function is simply rearrange to make x to the 4 the subject. So let's subtract 1 from both sides, leaving a bit of room. Let's multiply everything by x to the 4. Equals 48. Let's factorise out the x to the 4. We're left with y minus 1. And we can now divide both sides by y minus 1, while at the same time taking the 4th root. We're done. So that means that the function h, don't forget, inverse function, you interchange the x and the y's. So we need the 4th root of 48 over x minus 1 for a doozy of a question. Well done if you got that right. 22, it's completing the square. It's the one no one likes. There's a minus x squared. But if something stops you from doing what you normally do, take it out. Do something with it. So I'm going to take out a minus 3 and rearrange. Bring the x squared to the front. Minus 3 times minus 6x would give me that. And times minus 3 would give me that. I can now crack on inside the square brackets. Halve the coefficient of x, square it, take it away. Don't forget the minus 3 on the end. Then we expand. We've got minus 3 times the bracket. And this would simplify to negative 12. We're expanding, so it's positive 36. The number in front of the brackets does not affect the coordinates of the vertex. That would simply stretch it. All right, don't worry about that right now. That's for another day. The fact is, you just change the sign for the x coordinate of the vertex. You leave the sign alone. What am I doing? Flipping heck. You change the sign of the x, leave the sign of the y alone for the vertex. So, a couple of fantastic questions there. Hope it helped. See you on the next one.